Hey guys, Sugar Happy John coming at you with another Awaken Chaos Era video. I do have the camera off for this video. I do apologize. We just got back from Indiana. I'm a little groggy. We're a little, yeah, it's rough. We're out here though. We're making content. We're trying to get daily uploads for you guys. Um, but hopefully after this video, I go get some rest. Tomorrow we'll be back on camera. We'll have everything all set up. But I did want to go ahead and kind of talk about this. So today's video is going to be essentially, I did an account takeover where we took an account from level 12 to level 14. And I kind of talked about the process, what to keep in mind when going from level 12 to level 14, and kind of the thought process on what to do. I even built a few characters. We did a couple scenarios to see about speeding something up or about testing it and seeing how it works. Now that's normally how I do these is I try to go and I try to figure out the best combination. As you see here, this is actually my main account running my Queen of Tides team, and it runs really, really well. And so I kind of use this as a basis to kind of tune his team off of his own with what gear and stats that I had to deal with. Unfortunately, I was not able to capture as much of it as I really wanted to, like the exact stat wise. With that being said, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up my reference that I use, which is actually my characters. I use my characters on my account. So for the purpose of this video, and you'll see here in a minute as we get more into it, the following characters that I use for this particular combination from 12 to 14, and this is going to be pretty standard across the board because you're going to use the same process, and I'll go more into the detail with that, is our Blackhorn. This was the stats, right around the stats that the Blackhorn was at for the video. 27k HP, a little over 2000 defense. Focus was a little lower actually. Speed was about the same. Now, the other one that was notable is Gangello. This is using Gangello, so don't get upset about this, but he did not have to be. He did not have guard set, so we did not get him in guard. However, every character was in revival set. His HP was actually higher. We got him up to like 23k HP. His defense was a little higher. His speed was about the same, and his focus was almost the same. It worked out really well. I was able to mimic a lot of the stats that I already had, which made this account takeover and made explaining how to go from level 12 to 14 super easy. Now, the other one that he had obviously was Santis. Santis is super powerful in almost every Queen of Tides composition. He actually has a tankier Santis than I do. I was able to get his Santis up to about 22k HP, a little over 1500 defense. I think it was almost 1600 defense. Speed was about the same. Focus was honestly right about the same. So his Santis was built very, very, very well. Also in the Revivals gear, which helps a lot. And then lastly, we brought in Hackern. We did do the Hackern run on his 14, and it works well. It's not as reliable as some comps, but it works pretty good. And stat-wise, we actually were able to get his Hackern almost up to the 20k minimum, and his defense, I think we carried it right around 3600, which is pretty par of the course. 3500 is right where we wanted to shoot for. However, his focus was super low. That was unfortunate, but it worked out okay in the long run. And you'll kind of see that as we go through the video. But I did want to go ahead and give you the stats of Queen of Tides 14 with this composition, because I did have to cut them out because I didn't realize that the audio got lost. Something must have happened. My audio got a little jarbled up. And so I did want to make sure to get you guys some sort of stats for a reference for Queen of Tides 14 for doing the run. Now, with that being said, stay tuned, and then you can see the whole process of the run itself. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Stay tuned. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start the takeover now. It's about 2:30 p.m. my time. So we're gonna try to do an hour-long takeover on Queen of Tides. We're hopefully hit 13 on Hell 1, Hell 2, or 13, 14. There is a stat requirement that needs to be hit to go from stage 12 to 13 and then to 14. It's about a 15 to 20% increase per stage level above 12, I would say. Stage 11 and 12 are pretty similar. Mostly what you're dealing with here are just like the damage thresholds and your healer, whoever you're using as a healer. However, he is using a Holland's comp, which is a really good comp. I actually need to do a video on it for sure. He's using a Holland's comp on the first one here, which is great, and I definitely recommend it. It's about he's got it running at about a minute 47. Now, this is the second time I've been on the account. The first time we got the Queen of Tides running at about 4 minutes 13 seconds, and this was before we had Zatlux completed and before we had, I think even Gangelo was not A2 at the time, because I have in my notes here that even once he gets that looks fixed and the Hollands, he'll be about 2.5 minutes. So we actually beat that once we got to Gangelo. And so far the count looks great as far as what we're working with. We've got plenty of different resources here. We've got materials. We've got plenty of charms here. I mean, ideally a little bit more here, but this isn't bad because, I mean, right now it's 70 per level 15 of these epics. And we have legendaries, it's 175, and I think it's like 32 per 15. So this gives us about 5 to 6 pieces of gear right here, plus an additional 3 pieces of gear here. So we're looking at about 8 pieces of gear that we can easily 15 on top of all the other charms. So we're doing great there. I know the abilities should be done on these characters, and I think even then he said he's been stacking up some gear, which you can see is up to 1300. Last time I did a takeover on this account, I think he only had like 400, maybe 500 pieces of gear. So this is definitely a massive improvement when starting over and starting to do the account takeover. Also notice he's got a lot of pieces of gear here that are taking just to 9. None of these are locked, which is okay. I would probably advise locking some of these that we know are decent, but they're not terrible. And I know he's been doing a lot of Queen of Tides, so it looks like I have a lot of Queen of Tides to kind of go through here, which is great. That's what I'm going to be using. Primarily when going from Queen of Tides 13, or sorry, from 12 to 13, 14, what we're really looking for is just the stat increase, because the teams usually work out pretty well. And actually, you can see the representation if you click on this button over here. It'll show you what everyone's kind of using. Now, once we get to this 13, 14, Hollands is going to kind of fall off. I am currently trying to build a Hollands comp for my own personal account, but I have really good gear. So Hollands is going to fall off, and we're going to have to pick back up Blackhorn on this one. He does not have Yolanda. He does have Mathasia, which also would be decent. We may have to grab Mathasia as well. We'll see which one we have to use here. Ideally, I just use the Blackhorn and we call it good, because Blackhorn's going to be used in a lot of other comps for him. So if we get a stats correct for 13 and 14 of Queen of Tides, then chances are we can get a stats correct for other modes in the game. So that's one of the things to think about is with Gangelo, Santis, and Blackhorn being very prominent in a lot of these stats here, and Hakrin, if you get these guys tuned correctly to where they can do all this content, then it allows the user to be able to easily ease themselves into doing the other dungeons and not get so locked into having to do just the basic normal stuff. So let's go ahead and let's just do a test run here. Only we got to change out. We do need to bring in Blackhorn. Let's go ahead, check Blackhorn. It looks like he's not geared. Let's go ahead. Let's get him geared really quickly, and I'll do this live real quick for this part of the video. And then what I'll do is I'll do this live. We'll run it. I'll commentate. I'll probably cut the video, and then from there we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on in the account and just a good idea of what to do going forward. So I know a lot of people are asking, what's a good way to go from 12 to 14 on the dungeon? All right, so let's go ahead and get this going. So Blackhorn, I am definitely looking for high HP. Revival set, I want. And the reason why I want revival set is because I know that's going to be used on a lot of other compositions and other places in the game. So I know I want to get that. And I know his speed wise, we want to get him to go at least a little fast. He doesn't have to go super, super fast, but we want to get him going a little bit better than 139. Obviously, we need to get some speed on him. So we're going to be kind of looking for both of those stats as well as HP, because everything goes off of max HP. So let's go ahead and let's start with a ring. Like I've said in many, many other videos, I always start with the rings. We like to see what we can get here. And then we're going to filter HP percent. Let's go defensive percent. Focus would be okay to have on this as well. So that's kind of a secondary stat that I'm looking for with this gear, is I'm looking for HP percent, defensive percent, and then some focus, because focus helps with the counterattack, or the attack down, sorry. So this one right here is decent. I don't like that it's a 17 on the flat stat here. That's kind of a rip. However, we're not dealing with, he's just now trying to get into doing 13, 14. So we may not have the best gear possible just for this ring. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open this all the way up, and we're going to see if that unlocks any additional pieces of gear. Ideally, we just need the 4 revival, and then from there, it's kind of pick and choose your poison on what we get. And I'm not going to separate this just to focus, because I'm not going to try to force it. I do want to try to utilize as much as the way it has currently before we try to force something on the account or on the build, which then may hurt us later on down the road. Okay, now this speed is pretty good, but this is a 5-star piece of gear. 5-star pieces of gear just really are not going to help us when we're trying to do 13 and 14. We're really going to be looking for these really good pieces of 6-star gear here, and it does not look like we're getting a whole lot of luck, unfortunately. I do have this one here. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to try to roll this cursed one and see, because it has the focus on it. It has flat attack as well, which is not ideal. It's not really what we want. Oh, let's back this up. Let's go to +6 this. I don't know if you guys saw my videos before, but +6 is the way to go. Okay, and this actually worked out okay. So we got resistance. That's good to have on there. So +6 worked good. Let's go ahead and bring this up to 12. Okay, which uses all the reserve. That's great. I do like that he was filtering gear as he was farming. I don't like that rolled attack, but it's not the end of the world. It could be a lot worse. So let's go ahead and see what this one rolls here. And that rolled flat attack again. So that was a double flat. So this is kind of a rip. This is not a very good piece of gear, to be honest with you. However, it's got the focus. We may have to come back and revisit it, because this defense needs to be about 2K or so, because he's going to be the main person for Gemini Dragon. So if we don't have him geared properly, don't have his stats done properly, he's not going to be able to do Gemini Dragon and not be reliable on it, right? Because he's got to be able to take the hits and survive. And then also on the Witch of the Winds, he's got to be like the last one alive as well, depending if you use Blackhorn for that composition. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm not going to worry about the focus. Let's go ahead and go right into the defense, or HP percentage defensive again. Like I said, we do have the other characters kind of built, so we have a good idea of what we're working with. But now we really got to just fine tune this and get it corralled a little bit better, just to get, well, one, he needs to unlock it and be able to do it. But then two, we need to be able to get that repeatability that we really, really, really need. Okay, so this has speed, defense, and agility, which is good. It's curse set, which is kind of okay. I don't really want that. I really want that revival set. But as we all know, these last, this bottom row of gear, those are always the hardest ones to get. Okay, let's roll defense, agility, and resistance. That's perfect. Those are the stats we definitely want on a support unit, especially a healer. But those last bottom rows always give us the most problems. And that's pretty normal. That's part of the course. And we're not going to go ahead and we're not going to fret too awful much about it. We'll go ahead and we'll accept it for what it is. And we'll move forward here and try to get as much done as we can with what we have to work with. All right, defense, perfect. So that rolled pretty good. Ideally, we would take HP all the way up to 15 for this build. As of right now, it does not look like we're going to have to, but we do need to get a... Oof, that's a really bad piece. Okay, let's go let's see what we can get here. Can we get a defense, HP percentage? No. Okay, so speed, HP, defense. Okay, here we go. This is oh, that's warrior though. I need revival. I've got to have the revival. All right, so we're not going to be able to get him speed tuned right off the rip here. We'll have to, that'll be a later takeover probably to get him speed tuned. Wonder if we can go defense, speed, and then HP, speed, then defense. Can we get that going? Okay, so this is a little better. It's still not great, but it's definitely better. That's HP, defense 1, defense 2, 13 out of 20, and it rolled into there. Oof, not good at all, guys. Not gonna lie to you there. Let's see if we just can't get a better revival piece of gear in general, because we don't want to waste a whole lot of resources if we don't have to, right, guys? We want to make sure that we're utilizing as much as possible, so that way the player has as much of everything that they need. It's not looking like that's going to be an option. Looks like we're going to be pretty much hosed on the flat stat game, unfortunately. Okay, well, we'll do is we will take, I guess, this one for right now, and let's roll that up to 12, because it's definitely going to have to go to 12. It's not really a question of the matter. It's got to go. Let's see what we got, and it rolled flat, which is kind of what I figured would happen anyway. So unfortunately, we're not starting off too hot with our bottom row. That's usually the strong point, right? Those are usually your strong bases. And we have to lean this in revival at this point in time, because we have to hit that revival requirement. It's going to be super impactful later on. Now, this is a 5-star piece of gear with a 22%, which is good. However, it's 5 stars. It's not what we really want. We do want that speed and that defense. That was pretty decent. Let's see. Can we get a better one with defense? Because we need to make sure we're tanky. Not really. Okay, speed. So then that just gives us HP percent and speed. I'm going to roll this one over the other one just because we may get lucky and it will unlock the third stat. It did. However, it unlocked precision, and that's okay. We're trying to avoid flat stats, because flat stats have a more percent chance to roll onto them. So when you roll pieces of gear that don't have flats, you have a better chance of them rolling into themselves, which is what we're seeing here. So we're actually getting pretty lucky so far on these rolls. I would have liked to see a +2 on the HP here because this is a +1 on a 6-star. So this is a 12% out of 20, which is kind of low. However, we did get the speed hit, and that's a +2 on speed. So that's a 11 out of, what is that? 11 out of 20, I think. So it's not terrible. Not the best, but not god awful either. So we'll go ahead and we'll take that for now. Speed's coming up a little bit, which is good. We do want to kind of want to have him go before the waves, ideally, especially in Queen of Tides. So it means we need to be at like 160-ish speed. Okay, let's grab the helm here. Now, helm, we're going to be looking at, okay, HP percentage and defense is what I'm looking for. But this is a really, really good defense piece. I'm going to keep this in mind, though. We may circle back in case Hackron needs a piece of gear, because that would be a very, very good one for Hackron. Because Hackron we're going to want in Revival ideally as well. And the way we set this up is we want to eventually get this to the point where he can pivot and get into using either... Ooh, that's a pretty decent one. Using either Yolanda, if he pulls Yolanda, or if he gets her from the shop, or... an even faster comp, which I don't know that we have that built yet, to be honest with you. I don't know that we know a faster comp. I know the Yolanda comps, and honestly, it's pretty fast. That's the one I use myself, and it works out really, really well for me, so I'm not going to complain too awful much. Okay, so we got HP percentage here. That's perfect. I would have not liked the crit rate. I would have liked the focus, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's rolled so far pretty decently. There we go. There's the focus that we wanted. So let's go ahead and accept that change. Now, HP, we're looking at about 20k minimum, and about 2k defense minimum is what we really, really want. We want the speed to be about 160-ish, and we're not going to hit that for sure. The focus is coming up a little bit. Resistance is decent, which is good. We would definitely want to have that resistance up. I think we'll be able to target the stats that he needs pretty easily, if I'm being honest here. I think this is not going to be a problem. I think the problem is going to be getting everyone else's stats exactly where they need to be. Okay, so this is a really perfect one. This is defense and HP, a double roll. This is a 21 out of 30, which is kind of low. Ideally, this one should be a little higher, but we'll take it for what it is. Because I could roll these other ones, but the chances of me getting the hot rolls that I really need are going to be pretty slim when this is already rolled to 12. So let's go ahead and save resources, take that one. Our defense is below. Like I said, we wanted to target that 1200 or that 2000 defense, which is kind of a rip. Glyphs are done, which is good. Abilities are done, but let's go ahead and let's take that. We'll take him in there for where it's at. Let's double check our Zatlux, make sure his stats are still decent. He does need to make sure he crits and does damage. So he's got not terrible stats, not terrible at all. A little bit higher would be a little better on the attack, but overall, this may work out okay for 13. And then we'll see if we can't push into the last one as well. Now, because this is a first time run, even on my own, to get 100% completion, what I do is I run the right boss and right and then the left. Even on 14, I do the same thing. And that's just because it gives me 100% completion. And honestly, it only adds a couple of minutes at time. It's not like it adds a whole lot of time, which is great. The other thing you can do is you can turn off Gangelo's abilities. I typically do, and I run Santis and Gangelo in A1 style. And it works out pretty well for me. So here we're definitely noticing that this Zatlux needs to go up a little bit in damage. It can't take this long to defeat those. We need to get kills on the first wave. So that's definitely gonna be a problem. So we're gonna have to go build the Zatlux, and then we'll have to go from there. But like I had stated before at the very beginning of the video, is you need to see about a 10 to 20, well, really it's about 15 to 20% stat increase when going from 12 to 13 to 14. And as far as minimums go, I mean, the Zatlux is a little bit above the minimum. It's not terrible. It's the minimum Zatlux for 12 is about 3,500 attack and 240% crit damage. Speed has to be above 138 and 10k HP, 1100 defense. And that's the minimum requirement for 12 that I've found anyways. So we need to bump those all up by about 15%. So I could see the crit damage definitely needs to go up a little bit. Like I said, the attack was just a little low as well. So even if we were to take this and say 3,600 here and go up by the 20%, that's 720 plus 3,200. So yeah, I mean, we're still talking, we need to get about the 4K attack, which I don't know if you noticed, but that's about what I said it needed to be anyways. So this is definitely par the course. So let's see, if we get him to about 3,900 attack, that should be good. Now, if we look at his crit damage should be about 240 on 12, and then plus 20%. So then let's go back here to 240. So we're looking at about 288. So yeah, his crit damage needs to scale up just a tiny incy little bit, which is probably going to be doable because this looks like the stats from when I first geared him. So this is going to be definitely something we could potentially do. But once again, that's that 20%. And honestly, once you get up to, so let's take that even more into perspective. So 240 is the minimum for about 12 on average. So if we were to take that times 4 and then add it to the 240, you'll notice that the 336, that seems to be really unreliable, right? For the 40% for the uptake there. And honestly, you're looking for about 300% for stage 14 to have it pretty reliable with about 4K attack, maybe a little bit more attack if we can get it. So let's go fix that, and we'll come back and see what we get for a run. All right, so we're back. We've got Zatlux's build up quite a bit. I think Gangelo's looked okay earlier, and I think Santis's even looked okay when we looked at it off Santis build. So Santis, I'm going to call good. Blackhorn, we already built. We just fixed Zatlux. Let's just try it and see what we get here. This may end up failing a little bit, and we'll go from there if it does. However, I think this could work for Zatlux. He just needs to see, he can't one-shot one of them. That's the problem. It's when you do take all those counterattack damage that kills you. So him not being able to do that, okay, so this is going to be a problem. I wonder, however, if I were to take, let's try this again. And let's see if Santis's ability is on. Usually I like to have hers off because it speeds up the run. It takes away the animations. We don't need her to extend the poisons, which is basically what our ultimate does, and our A2 just does only places one poison. This may work out though for Zatlux for the first wave. I know on my own personal account I kind of had to do this to get the damage going, so let's see what happens here, if this works out for us or not. Nope, did not. Zatlux is definitely a part of the problem. Okay, so we may have to really yeah, we may have to really go hard on Zatlux's damage. We'll see. Okay, so we got a kill there. That reset his ulti. So next round, yeah, and he's just not going to live. Okay, so we got to get his damage up. That's basically, that's our only option here. All right, so we're back. I don't know what we did wrong. I just looked at Blackhorn's skills. I got his HP up to 25k now, HP, and it seems to have taken care of the problem. I think it's because the passive heals just weren't high enough, and that's what's causing our issue and why we would wipe. I previously ran this 5 times with no problems whatsoever. It's just, unfortunately, it took 30 minutes to run it. And I was okay with doing so as a test, but it was weird that we didn't fail in 5 times, and then I go to record a video, and it fails twice. Not good. However, now we're at 25k HP with Blackhorn, and everything looks pretty sustainable now. I'm okay with Hackern being low on HP there going into the next wave because he's got the most tankiness. Yeah, this will work good. Okay. Now I think we're back on track. I don't know what we did wrong before, but I think maybe it was just the HP requirements were just a little too low, unfortunately, on Blackhorn. I know that Crab, that one right, the far right one there, that one does the most damage to us, 100%. So I know that can be sometimes problematic. Looks like everything's running good. But definitely use those stats I gave you guys to kind of guide you into getting to 14. Because this is mostly, other than, obviously, this is not a free-to-play composition. This is 100% characters are had on the account. The ascensions are done. The abilities are done. The glyphs are done. The in-game gear has been gotten. So it's not like this is just a breeze in the park. It is, like I said, about 20% increase in stats going from 12 to 13 to 14. And we pretty much followed that. We followed this almost 100% per par those statistical numbers. So definitely keep that in mind. If you're curious, if you can go up, maybe do a little bit of math. See if if you take off all the gear on certain characters, if that allows you to go ahead and progress in other stages of the game. All right, so we're going to go into this last wave. Great. Would have been really nice had we not, used any of our ultimates there and just wasted them all. That's okay. Oh, and the stun spell. Let's just waste that too. We didn't really need that, right? We didn't want that. This is going to be right, left. Yep, right, left is selected. Biggest thing is we got to get those poisons landed because we want to make sure that we start ticking them up. The nice thing is when we tick up on the right add, one, he stacks super high, super fast, and two, we then allow Santis to go ahead and take those poisons and transfer them. And I mean, it is a 50-50 on it going to Queen of Tides or the other ad, but either way, it works out pretty good because it speeds the run up. That's the only reason why we keep these ultimates on. That and survivability for the other one. Now it looks like we should be void encroachment here. We did, and yeah, okay. So now we're gonna start stacking a lot of poisons. And like I said, we can get this going fast, and then sometimes it doesn't go as fast. Looks like this is going to be not as fast run. Our fastest so far has been, fastest so far I think was 3 minutes and 46 seconds, which is decent. But I know we could do a little bit better. We'll take it for now. Okay, and so far we're surviving just fine in this last little bit. So we should be able to kill the Queen of Tides, no problem. There we go. We lost both ads. This is GG from here. And yeah, get them done. Awesome. There we go. It's just down to 1%. We win, no problem. So that's basically in a nutshell what you got to do to go from level 12 to level 14, guys. Hopefully this helped you. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. This was kind of a quickly put together video, 5 minutes. So 3:46 was the fastest, 5 minutes is the slowest. That's not bad for guaranteed 6-star gear in my opinion. If you guys enjoyed this, definitely let me know. I will try to do a better guide of this later on. And I just wanted to put this together one really quick because I got a lot of questions about how hard is it to go from level 12 to level 14. So I thought it would be a good example of what to do that while doing a takeover. So thank you guys very much for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.